Hi, everyone. So that was exciting, a lot of great things. It's great to see how the platform has been extended and customized. I want to just step back a little bit and look at, okay, 2 years from now about, like, what could our platform look like? So this is how I'd like to frame it: connected and reactive, scalable platform. So what do I mean by connected? I'm talking about connected organizations. So for instance, enterprises that want to connect to the platform and learn about, get data about what their users and their employees and how they're using the platform. I'm talking about organizations like universities that want to know how are their courses doing and collect data about learner analytics so that they can improve the next run of the course. I'm also talking about organizations that provide services like the hands-on lab features by IBM, or the video service provider by Fun. Connected devices, right? In this very connected world of IoT devices, there's a lot of things that we could possibly do if we had better connections from our platform to these devices. So for example, if my Apple Watch could notify me when my essay has been graded, or for example, when I'm eating breakfast and Alexa reminds me that, oh yes, there's an assignment due today. These are all great ways for us to be connected with our platform. Connected support teams. So if a learner wants more support from basically their TA or their instructor, or maybe at a refugee camp, right? There is a group of learners and there's a TA specifically devoted to that refugee. If the support teams are able to know what's happening with the learners and give them more touch. Connected peer groups. So we had a hackathon in Boston where the Hult Business School had gone together and came up with ideas of what they would love to see on a online learning program, and some of the things that they talked about was really connecting with other peers, like a support team, a support group with their peers. Maybe they use Tinder to find out who else could be a good match. Together.js by EduNext has done a lot of work around this area as well. So these are all great extensions to our platform. Now, what do I mean by reactive? By reactive, what I'm talking about, this is a diagram from Newton. I'm talking about, yes, adaptive learning and personalization, but having a platform react to what you need in real time. So that type of customization and capabilities in our platform would be great to see. So connected and reactive, scalable platform. Scalable, we have edX.org, a lot of 15 million learners already, and it's going to keep growing in 2 years. Who knows what will happen? Scalable in terms of scaling for all the open edX instances that are out there. Now, talking about the architecture to support this, right? How can we power it by an event-first extensible architecture? What am I talking about? Let's go through that very quickly. So that open edX platform, right? We talked about universities and enterprises and learning services, they're connected to the platform. Well, let's give them a public API. And, REST API, fine, that might serve this purpose. LTI, there have been a lot of LTI integrations. So yes, let's continue to use that. Whatever LTI becomes in 2 years, let's continue to use that form. Now, within the platform, we have our microservices and our micro front ends, and there we need APIs as well, where the front ends can talk and communicate with the back end. So we'll see what those APIs could be, whether it could be REST, it could be GraphQL, it could be something else. I'll skip over this. The plugin architecture, right? So that's another set of APIs. Those are interfaces, right? If you have plugins on our backend that need to then integrate with those backend microservices. Django app plugins, Django signals, Python, whatever those backend systems may look like. So that will also need APIs. And then on the front end, this is something that I love to work at. There's a lot of JavaScript-related extensions and things that you guys are making. I love to be able to have interfaces and APIs so that you can make those customizations on the front ends. What could those look like? We don't know. It could be events that are fired in the browsers, and then any code that's running in the browsers will be able to connect and and react in real time to those events. It could be JavaScript libraries and APIs that we provide through that. So there's a lot that can happen there. And then finally, there could be event-driven APIs, right? There could be events that we fire to these external devices like IoT devices, to adaptive engines because they want real-time information of what's happening so they can customize your pathways and so forth in real time. Social networks, being able to figure out who's online right now, who can I connect with, who can I reach out to for help, support services for learning support and so forth. So these are all great ways to think about what the platform could enable if we had, some support of these connectivities. Now, when I talk about event-driven APIs, basically what I'm talking about is, see on the top, we're talking about request response. That's the traditional REST API where there's a server and a client. The client makes a request to the server and the server responds. So it's a point-to-point connection. When we're talking about event-driven APIs, though, it opens up a lot of possibilities where, there's generators of events. They fire these events, and then the consumers are able to receive it. And there's a lot more decoupling because as a generator, you fire these events, you don't necessarily need to know who are all the consumers. And so it allows us to scale the platform. It allows us a lot more capabilities as well because the consumers could be any type of devices. They need to be able to connect and integrate with the generators, but in terms of what the protocols are and so forth, those could be, you could imagine a transitive relationship from firing the event, which then results in an event in the back end, which might then fire an XAPI caliper event, who knows? But there's a lot of possibilities of propagation in real time. And front-end extensions, right, we're talking about being able to come up with features where you can put customizations in the browser. So imagine, for instance, as a learner, I'm able to, customize my experience. Oh, right, so like if there's a peer group, right, and if you're able to, within your peer, decide what chat tool you want to use, and that's something that you can then just use, just for your learner base, not necessarily something that has to be installed in the platform. It could be something that the learners themselves may choose. Course teams may also want to be able to customize the course experience for their course, and they're able to do that in the front end. For me, for instance, I get very distracted by a lot of other things that are happening while I'm on the computer, like I go onto Slack and this and that. So maybe there's a tool that looks at my eyes and that makes sure that I'm always focused or whatnot. But that could be a personal extension that I add to my learning experience. So I become a lot more empowered to make sure that I'm learning the way that I need to. So there's a lot of possibilities once we enable this on the front end. So that's it in a nutshell, a connected and reactive scalable platform powered by an event-first extensible architecture. Thank you very much.